morning, everybody. Thank you so much for jumping onto this video. What I wanted to talk about today is something a little personal. I wanted to talk about why I feel so strongly about not having debt, or at least being able to control what you do have, but also the dangers of being in it. We're going to get a little personal. We're going to get a little up close. So if I shed a tear, don't be surprised. What I wanted to chat about today is the impact that debt has had on me. So I have been in retail banking. Oh goodness, now it's been, what are we, 2024? We're working on the 12th year. And I started when I was 18. So now that tells you how old I am. I started at the bank as a teller, and what I did was what you expect a teller to do. I dealt with cash, I dealt with checks, I got your day-to-day banking done. But what I also did is I sold credit cards and other crazy things like savings programs and whatnot, referred you to the back where you'd get help from a senior advisor. But I sold credit cards, and it was all willy-nilly. I had to sell credit cards to get what was called sales revenue. Whether you use the card or not, I got credit for it. And so I excelled when I put others in debt. Fast forward from there, a few years later, I was in college for finance, and I got an honors diploma out of there. And then I went into being a personal advisor, and then a financial advisor, which is just a higher way to say a senior personal advisor, with the company that I was with. Now, I'm not going to say who I was with because I actually really like them. I still endorse them to this day, and I have no problem recommending them to my individual clients. What I don't love is my experience has been, I was taught how to sell debt and how to put people into debt with a much less focus on how to get people out and how to manage that debt appropriately. It really means a lot to me to have this conversation, because since I wasn't learning how to manage the debt, I wasn't being able to manage it myself for my own finances. I didn't know how to manage it. And I ended up going into a place that most people think is really bad. And what I'm going to be telling you here is I'm going to be giving it to you straight as much as my memory allows, because there are some things that when it's really painful, your memory doesn't let you forget it. That's why women have more kids than one. If we remembered what childbirth was, we'd never have them again, unless you had this pain-free birth. And if you did, that's fantastic. Teach me your ways if I ever have more kids. Yeah, I want to know one of two things. When you go into your bank, first off, tell me, have you ever been pre-approved for a credit card or line of credit? Which means they tell you, hey, you can get this product and you don't even have to apply for it. We're not even going to check your credit for it. First, I want to know if that's ever happened to you. But second, what I want to know is, if that's the case, do they just tell you, hey, you have these pre-approvals on your system, I just wanted to let you know? Or have you ever experienced them going, hey, you have these pre-approvals, and then they actually try to convince you to get them? The reason why I'm asking that is because I was taught to do the second part, is to convince you to get it, because it looked better on my quotas, because I had X amount of sales to make by putting people in debt, and I had X amount of sales to make by investing people's money. I didn't get credit for helping people pay off debt. I didn't get recognized for helping people start investments. Not very much. I got a little bit of credit, but it was insignificant. When you're a financial advisor at the level that I was, previously I was producing a lot. Well, I had really, really high goals, which meant I was putting people into a lot of debt because I had to meet those goals. I had to do so much credit products, sell so many credit products. I had to sell so many investments too, yes, but I had to sell so many credit products, in order to do well that term, that quarter, or I didn't get my bonus. And so what I took from work into my personal life was that debt was okay, debt was good. And I'm not blaming the bank per se. I'm saying that there's a lack of adequate financial education, which is what I do now, thankfully. But I wish I knew this then. And what I've taken from there before I knew about before I took my education courses, all that, I got so high into debt that when I had my first baby, Jay, 2 months later, roughly, I ended up going into a consumer proposal. Now, if you don't know what a consumer proposal is, it's like one step down from a bankruptcy. And I seem perfectly okay right now, possibly, maybe only a little bothered. But since I was a banker, that was my identity. It shouldn't have been, but that was my identity for so long. I thought I should know better. But college doesn't teach you how to manage debt. They teach you what a checking account is, what a mortgage is, but they don't teach you how to manage everything. They don't teach you how to earn money, how to gain wealth. So even though I was an honor student in college in finance, I didn't know how to manage money properly. And so I went into a consumer proposal. My house was foreclosed upon because after my tenants moved out, since they were told there was a part in the floor that had some fire damage, which was fixed, but they didn't know about the fire damage, even though I thought they saw it, but doesn't matter. So they were told about this fire damage, so they moved out before their rental agreement was up, and my rental was in a place that didn't have it wasn't like a city where you could just put it up for rent and the market would just deliver you a renter in a short amount of time. It would have been up for months. And I had to do some repairs on the place, so the money that I had sitting there, there was not enough money to do what I needed to do and get it back on the market in the time. And so because of that, I decided that I needed to make a phone call to I'm not going to name them because I don't know what that's going to mean for me. But I've had really great experience with them. I made a phone call. You can talk to most accounting places and they'll have recommendations for you. But I did a consumer proposal. We wrapped up the difference of what I could sell my house for and what the mortgage was at, any vehicle debts. Again, see, this is dumb. I didn't know how to manage my money. I had taken my government student loans and I had consolidated them into a bank loan. Like I said, dumb, right? I know now how dumb that was, but there was some thought behind it. However, I wonder why I wasn't told that it was that it was a silly suggestion. I don't know why I wasn't told not to do it, but whatever. So anyways, I made this phone call. This entire phone call, I'm shaking because my pride is taking a hit. And I felt like a complete failure. I felt like I was telling myself and telling the world that I didn't know how to manage money. And yet I was the one who worked in the bank and who loved helping people with their finances. However, I'm sharing this with you today because just like Dave Ramsey, he shared that he went from having $4 million. I can't remember if it was net worth or just in assets. You can fact check me. But then he went, I believe, bankrupt. Correct me if I'm wrong. And he's learned from that. And now he teaches people how to become millionaires based on what he learned through his failures, through his shortcomings. And so that's what I'm hoping that you'll get out of today, is that it's okay that if you're at the point where you need a consumer proposal, to do it. Because even though my pride took the biggest hit ever, after it was done, I went from having payments of $1,600 a month down to $300 a month. No interest, because that's $1,600 included interest. I can talk about what a consumer proposal is on another video. In the comments below, let me know if you want to know the difference between a consumer proposal and a bankruptcy. If you want separate videos, like, let me know below. Give me some ideas of what you would like. But that's why I really don't like debts, and why I went into financial education personally is because I was collateral damage in our society. Our society promotes keeping up with the Joneses and having the nice car and having this and having that. And now I've got this 2009 SUV that I got with, family discount, for $5,000. Perfectly paid off. It's got some dents and whatnot that I bought it with, but it gets me from point A to point B, and I'm perfectly happy with no payment, because it's not going to happen. But if I lost all of my income tomorrow, I now don't have to worry about a car payment or a credit card payment or a student loan or anything like that. While there are some ways that you could use debt to help you gain wealth, for the average Joe, it is a higher risk. When I advise my clients on investing, we go over a disclosure called leveraged investing, which means you borrow the money in order to invest, and it's higher risk because you could lose the entire investment. Okay, fine. But now you have those payments to pay back. You still have payments, and you may have lost your investment. It is higher risk. And honestly, for Joe Blows, like just the average person on the street, you probably don't need debt to gain wealth. The issue is that we are conditioned and taught to not live within our means. Like I said, I don't need a $24,000 car. I bought a used vehicle that works for me and my kids, that keeping up the maintenance costs less than a payment every single month. And now I have extra money to put towards my kids' educations, or putting towards making sure that there's life insurance policies for them, to make sure that should something happen to me, they are taken care of. That whoever is going to get my kids, they're not going to be struggling financially. My kids will be taken care of. Maybe I do want to buy a house. I was looking at houses today. I was driving around looking at houses today. I know the community I want to buy my house in. There's going to be stuff to save up for, but I don't have to worry about a car payment taking up the money that I want to save with. And so while there can be okay debt, I will never say that there's good debt. While there can be okay debt, most debt that the average person will have is, in my view, bad, because you are one bad day away from not being able to pay those bills, from the economy skyrocketing and our food bill doubling because they just increased the carbon tax, or they added a new tax, or there was an economic disaster, an agricultural disaster, whatever. Something can happen. And with our limited income, and with debt taking up most of our disposable income, we're not going to be able to adjust to it. The clients that I see that have a lot of debt, they actually make a lot of money. A lot of them do. There are so many people who make $200,000, $300,000 that live paycheck to paycheck because they have so much debt, because of their vehicle, because of an excessively high mortgage, because of toys that they'll have in their yard, RV, whatever. If you need to do a consumer proposal, long story short, if you need to do a consumer proposal, or if you think you might be there, reach out at the link below. We can take a look at your circumstances and see if there's other alternatives first that we could explore before doing a consumer proposal. But just know that if you are one of the people that a CP would work for you, it's not something that you should be ashamed for. And you're going to learn so much coming out of it, because I know I did. And if somebody who, was raised at the bank, who went to a college, I loved the college, don't get me wrong, and took a finance diploma, got honors, and who knows, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the problem, but I can tell you that I learned from my experience as opposed to learned from the bank and from the college. take my advice, look at your investments and figure out, or your assets, debts, everything, and figure out if there's a way that you can get rid of the debt before you get to the point where you're struggling to make ends meet, if you're not already there. Okay, so I know this video wasn't very structured. I want to thank you again for jumping onto it and for hearing me speak if you got to this point. If you want to know more, like I said, click the link below. Let's find a time to get together. There's no cost to get together. There's no cost to receive the advice. Everything is complimentary. And let's see what the best solution for you would be. I'm going to be going over in the next few days, depending on when you watch this, I'm going to be going over some general rules of thumb that I heard of and I really love, and now I'm actually implementing when it comes to how much should you spend on your car, on a vacation, and on a house. That's one of those things that I'll be putting out. But also, I'll be going over a few more things for debt over this month to give you a little idea of where you can put your tax return. Because that's your money, but you're paying interest on those debts. So that was an extremely long way to say stay tuned. Stay tuned for the upcoming debt conversations that we're going to be having throughout the month of March. And I just hope you have a blessed day. And thank you so much for coming. Make sure to check out one of the next videos.